Hello, everyone. I am host Crimz from the Top Cut, and this is Don't Call It a Comeback, episode number 3. For those of you that missed episode number 2, it's actually done in article form. It's on our website, thetopcut.net. And I chose not to make a YouTube video for it last week because it was just full of information, and I didn't really want to deter from the information by providing a game as well. So it covers the Klaczynski Open. It also covers a Flareon deck that I tried out. It was a pretty interesting build, but it didn't really work out the way I wanted it to. So I had to scratch it. But I did learn quite a bit. And I guess that's really what Don't Call It a Comeback's all about, right? It's about just going through with the experience and trying out new things and seeing how they really work out. And this time it didn't work out, but that's all right. It's not a big deal. These things happen. And I do recommend you guys just follow through with the timeline and just kind of see how things develop as Don't Call It a Comeback goes on. Anyways, this week we're going to be looking at Darkrai Garbodor, the deck that really took the Klaczynski Open by storm. It had 3 decks in the top 8, and it also had the undefeated champion, Lex D'Andrea, play it to victory. So not only that, but it also did extremely well at the World Championships. So the deck has a lot of momentum going into the regional championships. I am really interested to see how it does with the 50-minute time limit, though. So that's something that I'm sure we'll cover in future episodes. But in the meantime, I really wanted to try it out, see for myself why the deck's been doing as well as it has been. Now, obviously, Garbotoxin's there to stop Deluge and other nasty abilities. But without Garbodor, you'd actually have a really poor Blastoise matchup, and Blastoise is probably going to be a very popular deck. So I really wanted to try that out. And that's probably why the deck's been doing so well, because it loses all of its poor matchups and then still has things like Junk Hunt to rely on. Now, as far as the list is concerned, I did play 4 Sableye, which is a little bit different from the norm of 3. But other than that, it's a pretty standard Pokemon line. Now, as far as the items are concerned, I went with Computer Search as my ace spec. That's pretty strange because a lot of people tend to be going with things like Dowsing Machine, just because it works so well with the Darkrai Garbodor deck that just goes long every game. However, I prefer consistency. That's probably going to be me for this entire season. Consistency is just key for me. I really want to be able to play every game out very similarly. I did go with Computer Search, but I did also notice that I really wanted Dowsing Machine from time to time. And it really shows with Tool Scrapper more than anything, because I only play one of it, and it sucks having to keep junk hunting for it and really putting yourself in awkward positions. But I do play the 4 Dark Patch, and I play 4 Ultra Ball, which combined with the Computer Search and the 4 Junipers gives me a pretty solid way to put Darkness Energies into my discard pile pretty often. So that part's fine, and that's really what makes Garbodor, or not Garbodor, but the Darkrai Sableye, I guess, Darkrai, that works too, work. So that's the heart of the deck, and you can't really skimp out on your Dark Patches. I played 2 Enhance Hammers and a single Energy Search because they're just so strong, right? Energy Search is there as your 9th energy, but it also helps with your Junk Hunt. But then you have things like Enhance Hammer, which are extremely crucial in your Plasma matchup. You already have Garbodor to take care of the Blastoise matchup, but if you can keep Junk Hunting for Enhance Hammer, you're going to be a big favorite in the Plasma matchup as well. I played only 3 Hypnotoxic Laser with 2 Verbanks because I was just tight on space, and the deck is really generally tight on space anyways. So cutting the 4th Hypnotoxic Laser really hurt, and I did miss it from time to time, but I feel like it was a necessary evil. 3 Pokemon Catcher is pretty standard in a Garbodor list. I play 1 Super Rod because you're always going to be wishing that you had more Garbodors, I guess. But again, you're just really tight on space. And I actually tend to Super Rod in more Sableyes back in than anything else, which is strange because I already played 4 Sableyes, right? But I guess that's just the way I play the deck and the way I feel like it should be played, which is just you Junk Hunt the entire game and then eventually you start Night Spearing. It's a very effective strategy when you stop things like Keldeo from rushing in and just float stunning away. So I do find myself going Junk Hunt for something like an Enhance Hammer and a Tool Scrapper, or a Catcher and a Tool Scrapper pretty often. I played 6 tools, which is what you want to play. You just can't fit more, but you also don't really want to play less. 4 Floatstone I feel like is essential for the deck because your opponent can always just catch or stall you if you have a Garbodor with no Floatstone activated, or even say a Darkrai. You know, if you don't have any energy on your Darkrai and you need to retreat, you need to actually pay 2 energy to retreat. You can't just attach an energy and retreat for free because you don't have access to the ability anymore. So I played 4 Floatstone, which I feel are the most crucial tools, but I also played 1 Darkclaw and 1 Silver Mirror. Silver Mirror was actually used by Dustin Zimmerman at the Klasinski Open. I just thought that was genius. It really puts your Plasma matchup over the top, and you no longer are just a slight favorite. You're actually a pretty heavy favorite, especially when you can junk hunt for it whenever your opponent tool scrappers it away or something. Darkclaw is still pretty important, though. You need to really be able to deal 110 damage pretty often with your Night Spirit because you have a lot of Pokemon that have either 140 or 170 HP, and the 110 base is just really what's going to be it's going to be defining pretty often. So I didn't want to go with 2 Silver Mirror. I also didn't want to go with 2 Darkclaw, so I decided to split it 1 and 1 each. With 3 Skyla, it's not all that hard to really pull these out. And remember, once you do find them, they're going to be yours for good because you can just junk hunt them into your hand if you ever miss them. Finally, I play 8 Darkness Energies. Darkness Energy is obviously important, but a lot of people play 9. I just feel like you can't really afford to have that, you know, all these cards in your deck, especially with I played 12 supporters, 1 random receiver, and 1 computer search, so that's 14 draw cards, which is fine, but it's still not a lot. Like I found myself in a lot of spots where I needed more consistency cards. So the last thing I want to do is cut a card for a 9th energy. I'm willing to sacrifice a lot of early Night Spears for the ability to just have a stronger deck overall. So that's fine. I like the list overall. I don't really think I would change anything, but I do want to play. I do want to show you guys a game that I played, just so you guys can see how the deck works. Now, I do want to mention that it's probably the toughest deck in the format to play currently. I mean, I should erase the probably out of it. The deck is absolutely the hardest deck in the format to play. And in the week that I've been playing this deck, I've probably made more misplays than I would have expected to make throughout the entire year. It's just so easy to mess up your junk hunts, or I mean, even if you're not paying attention, if you attach a tool to your Garbodor, you can no longer retreat for free using your own Darkrai ability. So, Dark Cloak. So it really messes with you. Anyways, I'm going to be playing against Garchomp here, and I actually saw the fighting energies before I saw the Garchomp, so I was just sitting there just pulling my hair out, saying, oh man, you know, lucky me, I'm playing against a Landorus deck or something like that. But it actually ends up being Garchomp, which I feel like is very power reliant, ability reliant. So I felt like I should be a favorite in the matchup, but I also had to go second because Tails apparently fails that time, and my opponent is going to be able to really go off if he gets in good enough hand. So my Garbodor might not be as effective as it could be. My opponent ended my hand away, which my hand was actually pretty solid, but now I get a hand that doesn't really do all that much. Like, I have a Sableye, I have a Darkness Energy, but aside from that, I just have a bunch of supporters, and do I really want to Skyla for anything? It's really what I'm asking myself when I see this end from my opponent. Meanwhile, he's just sitting there grabbing a couple of Swablues and already has a Gibble in play. So he's really primed to really go off on his next turn if he can get a Gabite. Now, my hand, again, is just not good. I just drew a 4th supporter, which is the last thing I wanted to see. I don't want a Colress for 3. I also don't feel like Skyling because what can I really find with the Skyla? At this point, I'm really trying to figure out what I'm going to be finding with the Skyla because I don't feel like junipering away so many important cards from my deck right away. Cards that I can't get back, which is the most important part, right? So, so I was really in a tough spot, and I was trying to figure out what do I Skyla for here. If I Ultra Ball for a Trubbish, my opponent is still going to be able to use his abilities, but at least I'll be able to stop them, ideally, on the following turn. But at the same time, what am I really going to do? Just Ultra Ball for Trubbish and pass, and let my opponent take a big advantage? That doesn't seem strong enough. I don't like the idea of just ending my turn by attaching an energy to the Darkrai and playing a Trubbish and passing. Especially since I'm going to be discarding 2 supporters to do it. So, I'm just really scratching my head at this point. And now I'm starting to think, wow, I'm going to have to Juniper my entire hand away. And I actually chose not to even attach an energy or the Dark Claw because I wanted to see if I could maybe top deck a Floatstone and just junk hunt, right? But I didn't even get to do that. Like, my hand is just so bad now after this Juniper that I no longer have supporters in it. I don't have energies. I have a Dark Patch, which is fine, but I don't have an energy card there. I feel like I should probably Dark Patch here just so that I can get it into my discard pile, and in case my opponent plays an N or something. But other than that, my hand is just horrible, and I don't like my position. I'm hoping my opponent can end me and kind of save me. Otherwise, I'm going to have to try to top deck, and I've already lost 4 supporters. Anyways, my opponent now gets a very awesome gift in the fact that my turn was so bad. And he actually ends me, which is great, because now I'm right back in it. I feel like, well, this hand also isn't the greatest, but that's fine. I'm not going to complain after seeing my last one. But yeah, my opponent now gets to use his abilities. He gets a Goodbye into play, which means he's going to be able to search out more and more dragons with his Dragon Call ability. So I now have to focus on getting a Garbodor as soon as possible because his Alterias are just going to take over the game. If he gets a Garchomp in play, he can already deal 100 damage for 1 energy. So I need to find a way to get, ideally, both of my Trubishes. That way my opponent can't just catch her. But then again, the deck is so tight on space that there's a chance that he just doesn't play very many catchers or any at all if I'm lucky. Now, I'm going to have to Skylight here for the Ultra Ball. I just don't have a choice anymore. But I still want to take a look at my prizes and see what's missing. I feel like the important cards are there, except for I think I only see 1 Trubbish. And that could be a problem. Now, I also should mention that I have pretty bad eyes. So I constantly check and maximize cards and see if they have any hidden energies or anything like that, just because I don't want to be surprised, right? So anyways, I go with the Computer Search instead of the Ultra Ball, though. And that's a little risky, because I do show that I have a Computer Search, so my opponent no longer has to fear things like Scramble Switch. But at the same time, I don't show him that I'm searching for a Trubbish, so maybe he won't target it. Maybe he won't go like, oh man, the Trubbish is really important for a strategy. So I decided to go with that route, and I'm going to play my Pokemon Catcher to kind of stall and hope that he doesn't, have what I would consider the nuts at this point, which would be just an unbeatable hand with like a Garchomp and another Goodbye and all this stuff. Even though I'm in pretty bad shape at this point. So at this point, my Junk Hunt has a lot of options. I feel like I should probably pick up a catcher, and the Dark Claw is going to be a card that I'm going to need at some point in the matchup because my opponent's Garchomp is going to have 140 HP. But I'm not really sure what to get here. I also thought that my Sableye was not long for the world, so if I was going to need to, if I was going to Junk Hunt at any points anytime soon, I was going to need to pick up the Computer Search now, sooner than later, because I was just not going to have very many opportunities to Junk Hunt. So I go for the Computer Search, and I probably get the catcher here. A Dark Patch would have also been pretty nice, but again, I'm not expecting for my Sableye to really survive the turn. And at this point, I'm just at the mercy of my opponent's hand. If my opponent can just maintain the aggression that he's been, that he's had for these first 2 turns, then I'm going to be on the back foot, and I'm going to be trying to find a way to really stabilize here. Now, I'm also noticing that he's going for 3 Altaria. 3 Altaria with a Silver Bangle and Garchomp's second attack is enough to one-hit KO at Darkrai. So I also have to keep that in mind. That's something that you can't really take lightly. My opponent searches for a Goodbye with his own Garchomp, or with his own Goodbye, and then he plays a Garchomp from his hand. He's down to a 1-card hand, which is pretty nice, but then he Junipers it away and plays and gets a new hand of 7. So that's a perfect start for him, right? At the same time, I don't expect my Sableye to survive, and Junk Hunt was going to be really critical at this point. And I'm just in really bad shape. I have very little time to really stabilize, but at least I'm going to have a Garbodor in play as long as my opponent doesn't capture it. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for my opponent to just not have a Pokemon catcher and just take out my Sableye, because that's the lesser of 2 evils there. 2 evils. By the way, I do want to talk a little bit about how Darkrai Garbodor is a much slower deck than much of the rest of this format, and even something like a Stage 2 deck like we're seeing here with the Garchomp is so much faster than it, and that's an issue here. My opponent plays a Pokemon catcher though, and he actually targets the Darkrai. That's so important to me. I couldn't be happier there. I'm going to be able to play my Garbodor, and actually, I was about to Float Stone it, but then I realized that I wouldn't be able to retrieve for free. So I retrieved for free first before actually attaching the Float Stone on my Garbodor. And I couldn't be happier that my Sableye and my Trubbish survived. I think that Darkrai getting hit there was the least of my worries. So luckily, I got a little bailed out there by my opponent. And now I feel like I shouldn't have gone after the computer search with my junk hunt. But hey, you know what? I'll take it. Again, I have no supporters in my hand though, and I'm gonna be in a little bit of trouble here. I'm not gonna lie, this is not a good spot to be in. But again, I'm thankful for still having my Darkrai or my Garbodor in play, and maybe by stopping his abilities, I'll be able to slow him down. He wouldn't be able to actually get a knockout on my Sableye this turn without either attaching a special energy card to, or I guess any energy card, any water energy card to be able to one-hit KO the Sableye, or a Tool Scrapper would also do it. So here I'm picking up a Laser and probably a Catcher. Or I do need the Dark Claw at some point, so maybe I'll get it here, but I think I'm probably going to end up going for the Catcher. No, I go for the Dark Claw. But yeah, I will eventually need the Dark Claw to be able to knock out a Garchomp. But I'm also going to need a Laser and a Verbank. So I'm pretty far away from it, and I'm just hoping to top deck something or for my opponent to bail me out again with an N. But he hasn't done this, and I am just in a world of hurt. But yeah, the Darkrai Garbodor deck specifically is much slower. My opponent actually attaches a Blend Energy, the one that provides water energy, so my Sableye is going to get knocked out here. And without any abilities to really mess with my opponent's... without any abilities from my opponent, he won't be able to mess with me, I guess is what I was trying to say. He also Colrus's for a full 8 card, for 8 cards, which is might as well be a full grip. And I am just again in a world of hurt. But my opponent actually deals only 60 damage. Did he forget about Garbodor's ability? I'm not really sure, but he only deals 60 damage here. And again, I feel like I'm getting bailed out. But at the same time, I'm in really bad shape. I don't have any supporters. I don't really have any way to really take advantage of the game. But he must have forgotten about Garbodor's ability. Must have forgotten about Garbotox and just assumed that he was going to be able to knock me out with Mach Cut. Or I believe that's the name of Garchomp's first attack. But yeah, I will get another turn of junk hunting if I please. And I mean, I don't really have very many options otherwise. So I'm not happy, obviously, because I still don't have any supporters, and I feel like I'm still losing the game, but at least he's extending it for me. Or she, I guess, thanks to the avatar there. I'm going to pick up another Enhance Hammer, maybe. The Enhance Hammer would stop a second Blend Energy from coming into play, but I also feel like there's other viable targets. I'm still going to need a Laser at some point, and a Catcher would be nice as well. So I do go for the Laser and Catcher instead, with the Enhance Hammer being a close third. Now my opponent wakes up, which is unfortunate for me, but he's also got a really full hand, so I'm sure he's got a lot of options available to him. If he plays a lot of Catchers and stuff like that, then he'll probably have access to another one. But he actually just Colrus's for another 8 cards, so maybe his hand just wasn't as good as it could have been. He's also got all of his evolutions in play, so that does say quite a bit. I'm gonna have to knock out a couple of Garchomps if I want to get back into this game, and given my current hand, I just don't really have the option to do that. I also don't have a Verbank in place, so I need to get the right amount of damage on him to be able to Night Spear with the Dark Claw. Now, ideally, if he doesn't retreat here, I will have enough damage because he'll have 20 damage on him at the end of his turn. And oh wow, he didn't retreat. So that does actually open a big. That does actually leave a big opening for me. If I attach a Dark Claw and attack with Night Spear this turn, given his poison damage, he's gonna be able to. I'm gonna be able to knock out the very first Garchomp. And not only that, but I'm also gonna put 30 damage on the secondary Garchomp, which again is gonna get me right back into this because it puts him at 110 HP, which is the right range for my Night Spear. So as long as my opponent doesn't have a Tool Scrapper or something like that, I'm gonna be able to get 2 knockouts with one of my Darkrai's, and that might be enough to get me back into the game. That's really big. That's really important. The fact that he didn't get a chance to retreat his Garchomp for whatever reason. Now he's got a Silver Bangle on the bench Garchomp, which again is scary. If he's got a Tool Scrapper here, he's gonna be able to knock out my Darkrai, and that'll obviously again take me out of the game. Now, luckily, I pick up a Juniper for my prizes, so I'll at least have some sort of options on my following turn. I'm just hoping for no Tool Scrapper here. A Tool Scrapper would be devastating. Not only does it obviously get rid of my Dark Claw, but it actually just knocks out my Darkrai, period. Without Garbatoxin to shut off his Alterias. So I'm hoping for no Tool Scrapper, but I'm also hoping for him to stop drawing these evolutions. Maybe that Super Rod was really important for him because he's going to get another Guard Chomp into play through that Super Rod eventually, assuming he doesn't draw dead. So I'm just in a world of hurt here against this deck, and oh no, he plays the Tool Scrapper, and he's also got a Skyla to boot. So the Tool Scrapper actually guarantees a knockout onto my Darkrai. My Darkrai is now knocked out essentially, and he's going to be down to 3 prizes. I'm only going to have one Darkrai in play with 100 damage on it, and a Garbodor in play with no tools. So I couldn't be more unhappy about my situation. And I feel like I'm about to play to lose against this deck that doesn't really have much of a competitive edge against me. Like, I feel like I should be a favorite against this deck, right? So where am I going wrong, essentially? And I'm in awe that I'm doing so poorly, but it also goes to show just how slow Darkrai Garbodor can be. Now I'm gonna activate my Darkrai because it's gonna have free retreat thanks to the Garbodor no longer having Garbatoxin. But I'm still not in the best of shape, and drawing that second Juniper is just kind of like a slap in the face, saying, "Oh yeah, you haven't had a supporter for X amount of turns, and now you draw 2, and your very following turn." I'm gonna Enhance Hammer away the Bland Energy just because I can, and it was also really unfortunate for him to be able to attack me there. Now, if I Ultra Ball here, I believe I still have a couple of Sableyes left, and I might need to end up Junk Hunting again at some, relatively soon. So let's see what I have left. I do have the Sableye. I just go straight for that Sableye. I don't even bother looking for anything else. Now, I'm going to probably attach a Floatstone to the Garbodor to reactivate Garbatoxin and hope to get lucky. Honestly, I'm going to need to get relatively luckier. My Juniper is going to have to help me out quite a bit. For some reason, I'm hovering over Undo Last Action, but I wasn't planning on undoing that action. I think my mouse is just hanging out there. I look at the 2 retreat for the Dark Cloak. Oh, yeah, I can't retreat. It won't let me retreat for free. I don't understand. It still has Garbatoxin. It's assuming that I'm playing that my Garbatoxin is still online and it won't let me retreat. That's why I was now I'm forced there to either attach a Floatstone to my active Darkrai or just not retreat at all. So I actually attached the Floatstone to Darkrai, and I hope to draw another tool, but I don't. I don't have another tool, and there was actually a glitch on the Pokemon TCG Online, which doesn't let me activate my Garbatoxin, which is strange because my opponent still got the effect from the Alterias. I don't understand, what's going on there, but it really took me by surprise, and it forced me into a bad spot. So, anyways, I still do what I can, and I just use my Tool Scrapper to get rid of his Silver Bangle to, well, actually, it wasn't even all that necessary considering the Darkrai has, 100 damage on it already, but I still use it, and now I'm going to play the Verbank City Gym to really put more poison damage through, but I'm just not in great shape, and having my Dark Cloak ability shut off there was just devastating. It really was. I can no longer activate my Garbatoxin without either a Junk Hunt to find a Floatstone or something similar. So that was just really unfortunate. And I still can't figure out why that glitch exists there, because it's so random that Altaria still has the ability but Dark Cloak doesn't. But whatever. You have to play through some things, and I guess that was something that I had to play through there. Now my opponent's no doubt in the lead here. If he takes a prize on my Sableye, he's going to go down to 2 prizes, and all he's going to need is a catcher on my Darkrai to really finish this game off. I ideally want my Darkrai to get knocked out so he can go down to 1 prize and have to face a second Darkrai. But we'll have to wait and see what happens there, because as ideal as it sounds, it's still not very good, right? I am going to end up going for a Junk Hunt, and I don't know what options I have left. I'm just not happy about anything here. Probably just go for a couple of Dark Patches just so I can get more energies into play. Maybe even power up a second Darkrai. But instead, but I do need to actually find a way to activate my Garbatoxin on my opponent's side of the field. So I do end up having to go for a Floatstone as well. So I go for 1 Dark Patch and 1 Floatstone. My opponent has the Pokemon catcher here, and no doubt my Darkrai is going to get knocked out. He's going to go down to 1 prize, and well, he actually doesn't have any. His Garchomp stayed asleep. That's big for me. He's going to need a switch to knock out my Darkrai. He's got a dowsing machine though. He does, and that's going to no doubt find him a switch, which is going to knock out my Darkrai. Go down to 1 prize. He's going to have no cards in the hand except for his 2 prizes that he just takes. But again, I'm in such bad shape. I have to be. Any type of attack from my opponent from here on out is just going to lose me the game. Now, I probably should activate Garbodor since I have Floatstone in my hand, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to retreat for free or not. But either way, I don't. And now I'm forced to Ultra Ball for my last Darkrai. Hope it's there. Hope it's in the deck. I don't really remember if I had all 3 Darkrai's in the deck or not. But I'm going to have to Ultra Ball for it and power it up slowly. And jeez, man, I'm gonna have to end him to a 1 card hand too, and hope that he doesn't have either a Tool Scrapper or some way to deal more than 60 damage to my Sableye. Yeah, it's just not a good spot to be in. I don't think the game is lost though, which is awesome. Without the game being lost, if my opponent can just draw dead and I can set up a Darkrai, I'll be able to take out potentially even both Garchomps before he can really knock anything out, and maybe that'll be enough to get me right back in the game. And I just have to hope he just doesn't draw well, and that's the power of N. That's how strong N is. Like, you can be in such a bad spot, and N will still get you right back into the game. And you know, with a couple of unlucky draws from your opponent, you'll be able to steal certain games. Like, I'm down 5-1 on prizes here. If I can pull it off, then that's just incredible. But I wouldn't have been able to do that without N. That's for sure. Now, the game is going to go a little bit longer here, and I'm obviously going to have to junk hunt, hope he doesn't top deck and stuff like that. But I do want to talk, I want to take this moment to talk a little bit about a pressing issue in the community, and that is the 500 championship points that are, the announcement that was just made that people are going to need to have 500 championship points to qualify for the World Championships this year. A lot of people are really taking it negatively and saying how it just ruined their season and whatnot, and I can understand the situation. My opponent catches up my Garbodor, by the way, and I'm not really sure why he did that unless he's got a Tool Scrapper, but instead he just deals 60 damage to the Garbodor, but the Floatstone's still attached. So I'll be able to retrieve for free, and he's going to need another Pokemon catcher to knock it out. So I'm not sure if he was just hoping that the Garbotoxin didn't work or whatnot. I'm not really sure. But anyways, that's what he does, and I do get to attack with my Darkrai for essentially free this turn. So anyways, the 500 championship point requirement, I am really bummed out about it. I think that it's going to be very difficult to qualify for the World Championships this year, and it sucks because this is don't call it a comeback. I'm hoping to potentially qualify for the World Championships if I get a fortunate enough season. So it does mess with my plans quite a bit. I'm sure it messes with countless other people's plans, and it's unfortunate all the way around. People, TPCI, the Pokemon Company Incorporated, has said that they just wanted 120 player worlds. That's their goal. Now, I wish personally that they would have gone with something like having the top 40 people from certain regions and whatnot qualify, and that way, instead of having to reach this seemingly unattainable goal, we now know what the goal is, and that's beating out everybody but 40 other people, but 39 other people. So I do wish that they had done things a little bit differently there, but unfortunately they didn't. Now we're gonna have to deal with the consequences. Hopefully they rectify this for future seasons, but it will be a lot more difficult this time around. If anybody has more questions on this matter and you guys want to talk to me about it, please go ahead and do so. I've been talking about it with many other people, and I can understand why people are so devastated by the announcement, but I don't think that that's the end of our season or anything like that. Anyways, back to the game though. I will take the final few prizes with my Darkrai against her Garchomps. She's unfortunately spent her Pokemon catcher 1 turn early. Had she saved it and used it against the Sableye, that would have been it. She would have taken her final prize, and I would have lost. Now, mistakes do happen, and I happen to be on the winning end of this one, so I'm a lucky guy. That is going to be it for Episode 3 of Don't Call It a Comeback, though. As far as Episode 4 and beyond are concerned, we're going to be focusing on the regional championships. They actually just got announced for Arizona in October, so my preparation is going to go fully towards that. I'm going to do what I can to perform well at the regional championships and see what happens. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the series, and hopefully you guys come back for episode 4 of Don't Call It a Comeback.